It's now time to delve into the big stories. Your comments, your views, your contributions are welcome via WhatsApp line. Do want to send in a message. We'll be glad to read it across for you. But let me introduce my guest who will be joining me for the panel discussion this morning. I have with me a very regular on the show, Elvis Darko, whose newspaper I reviewed just not too long ago. Elvis, good morning and welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Good morning. Thank you.
Amazing. Sitting right next to Elvis is Delali Sewakpo, who is the head of corporate communications at the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority. Delali, good morning and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
I like your suit you're wearing.
Thank you.
Except that we're in Ghana month. So
Heritage Month.
Heritage Month as well too. So be minded. Amazing. Ibrahim Eje, resident country director, International Investment LLC. Needs no introduction, regular on the show. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Thank you very much, Jude. Good morning to you.
Amazing. So the first conversation we'll start with is something that happened over the weekend. We witnessed when President Trump posted on his Truth Social saying that the U.S. had announced a new operation, what he termed as Operation Epic Fury. Now this, he said, was to deal with Iran as a result of what he calls an attempt to prevent them from, obtaining nuclear weapons, right? Of course, the tensions had been going on for some time now. Some missiles were dropped in Iran that has killed their supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, as well as Ali Shamkhani, who is the head of their National Defense Council, and some other senior defense officials. I'll start off with you, Elvis. Already concerns are there that we witnessed what the Ukraine invasion to Russia did to our economy, where the previous administration were quick to remind us at every point in time that, in fact, the president at the time said that every bomb thrown in Ukraine directly hits our pockets here. Should we be concerned that this is developing at a time our economy seems to be improving and stabilizing?
Well, the point is, Ghana is not an island. Neither are we isolated from the world. And we should always understand that there are certain commodities that are global and every country uses them. And one of them is crude oil. And crude oil is the backbone for a lot of productivity and manufacturing across the world. And therefore, when things happen in certain countries, though they may be very far away from you, you are feeling the impact because of your relationship to those commodities, how you rely on those countries, how you rely on such commodities for your own life. What is happening in Ukraine and the rest, see, when every unexpected event happens, the whole world does not expect it. So there's always a panic. And therefore, for the first few months, it's difficult to deal with it because it is something that no one expects. So within the first few months, everyone struggles around the world. And then everybody starts finding ways to adjust to be able to handle it. So if you look at the Russia-Ukraine war that you mentioned and COVID, nobody expected COVID, nobody expected Russia-Ukraine war. So when they hit, everybody, everywhere in the world, every country was hit. But then with time, everybody tried to adjust. Because as humans, one of the things that we are good at is adapting to situations. So it is when it happens unexpectedly, immediately, then you don't know what is happening, you are a bit confused. But with time, you adjust to the situation. So the problem we have right now in Iran is that, see, more than 60% of oil produced in the world, before they get to any country for use, they have to pass through a canal that is controlled by Iran. Okay, so what will happen is that there will be supply disruptions to crude oil around the world because the routes to use to deliver the crude oil to any country in the world is at the center of a fight. And therefore, if vessels are unable to move to various countries, what happens is that the market will react and prices of crude and all petroleum products will start rising. When it happens that way, because crude is a global commodity, it's priced by the global market, the prices once they go up, everybody, including those who are fighting the war, including the US and Israel, will all feel the impact of the increase because the price oil is sold is the same everywhere in the world. And therefore, once it goes up, America, which is currently fighting with everybody in the world because they think that their economic status as a superpower is under challenge by China and Co. because of economic situation and are imposing tariffs. They also are doing more manufacturing and they need a lot of oil to be able to power their industries to grow. So when the price goes up, it's not only about government, it's even about the private sector that is producing that will be affected. So whatever is happening in Iran right now, the only way we are going to feel it painfully is when oil prices begin to rise.
Interesting.
And when they rise, everybody gets the pain.
COPEC is already reporting that Ghana may face fuel price hikes as oil surge. So I'll come back to you on whether it will be justification enough for this government to say, oh, there's already Doomsor levy, which met a little hesitation from the public, right? So if the prices go up, will government be justified knowing the kind of politics they did with the Ukraine-Russian war? But let me come to Delali. A lot has been said by analysts, experts within the space that we should be doing more to put in place the necessary buffers so that our economy is not too susceptible to some of these shocks, because there will always be shocks from a global point of view. Is government well in place to ensure that we don't feel the ripple effects of this attacks in the Middle East?
Good morning and good morning to your cherished viewers who are watching us this morning. First and foremost, I have had the opportunity, to watch on the international media relative to what is currently happening between the US, Israel, and Iran, relative to the war, as you may put it, currently that is ongoing. And I've had a concern relative to the fact that there's been a lot of reasons that have been assigned to what is actually happening. And some of the view that, like my brother Elvis alluded to, the fact that fast forward the United States of America is gradually losing its, its economic power. Relative to the fact that now you have China is an emerging force, you have Russia, and basically you have China, which basically rely on Iran for its supply of oil. And for that matter, the US is basically trying to play the usual politics to ensure that
stabilize the region.
Absolutely, which eventually will affect China. I've also had a concern where I read a particular piece where somebody posed a question that is it worth being an ally of Russia or being an ally of China? Because anytime any of the ally is an attack by the US, they find it difficult to come to their aid. But whatever it is, there's something at stake. Whatever it is, all of us are involved in it. I've continued to say that pollution, they say, is localized, but the effect of that pollution is global. The essence of it is whatever that happened, like my brother alluded to, Ghana is on an island. And I have heard our colleagues from the MPP, when you go to various social media platforms, continue to highlight the fact that is the NDC going to say that what is happening in the Gulf region, is it going to affect our country? What I just want to say is this. I believe President John Dramani Mahama, I believe the NDC government, I believe the managers of the economy, believe the fact that whichever way, Ghana, one way or the other, might be confronted with external shocks. And it's one of the reasons why when you listen to the State of the Nation address, I believe that will be coming to President Mahama highlighted some of the things as a country that we have to do so that we'll be self-sufficient and self-dependent. That's why he keeps on referencing the Accra Reset agenda. Basically what it means is this. As Africa, we need to put our destiny into our own hand so that we don't get to a point anytime our economy is on the verge of reviving or our economy is on the verge of being on a sound footing, that we are hit by certain external forces that end up impoverishing the masses. So relative to what is happening, I believe by now the Minister for Energy, I believe that now the economic management team, all of us will take into consideration what is currently happening within the Gulf region. We'll be able to put all the measures in place to ensure that it doesn't translate in imposing on our citizen, any form of suffering. And I will not sit down here and discount the fact that what is happening within that region will not affect Ghana. It will definitely affect Ghana once we are a country that largely depends on oil. Like COPEC have actually hinted this. But the position that the NDC took relative to the issue about the Ukraine-Russia war was the fact that I think it was over-amplified by our colleagues from the NPP. To the extent that sometimes, even, excuse me to say, on a lighter, to the extent that even it got to a point when somebody is suffering from, excuse me to say, erectile dysfunction.
I'm not sure about that, but it was a reality, right?
No, what I'm saying is this. You see, we have sat on TV with a couple of our friends from the NPP. And see, even if there are cases somewhere, there are robbery cases somewhere, you have NPP communicators quoting the Russian-Ukraine war. So that's why I'm saying that at a point in time... I didn't see But I'm telling you, I've sat on TV with a couple of them, and at a point in time, even when there was a bit of lapses with respect to the free HHS, when you ask them what is the reason why there's problem associated with free HHS, they'll quickly just make references to the Russian-Ukraine war. So we think that...
the reasons, as alluded to by the economic management chair at the time, but I remember when he took time to address the issues around the economy, what he described as a double whammy. So I remember him talking about the Ukraine war, I remember him talking about the energy sector debt, I remember him talking about the banking sector crisis, and I think there was one more that has killed me. But to say or allude to the fact that everything was blamed on the Russian-Ukraine crisis is not really the position of the New Patriotic Party.
The only reason why the issue about Russia-Ukraine crisis, right, and COVID became so profound in the era of the NPP was the fact that that's one of the excuses they continue to give. But you see, what is more important, you remember, when Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia was then vice presidential candidate of the NPP, when we were told that he's the economic wizard, organized a series of lectures. And you remember that at a point in time, we were hit globally about some of this external shock. And one of the things Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia said that, listen, at that point in time, you have Ivory Coast, right, who was also basically part of the global shock, but they were doing well. And Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia made a statement to the effect that he doesn't understand the reason why the external shock that the NDC was alluding to at that time have bypassed Cote d'Ivoire and hit Ghana. So he doesn't understand that analogy, and the reason why we shouldn't blame any external factors relative to the economic meltdown at that time. So it's only prudent and it's only justifiable for us to also make reference to some of the statements he made in the past.
So the vice president at the time in July 2022 said the country was hit by a quadruple whammy. So he was referring to the Ukraine-Russian war, of course, COVID, and I'm not sure you'd want to discount the effect of COVID, where globally airlines were shutting down, everything came to a standstill. He also talked about the energy sector debts, which he accuses the NDC of being a major part of, and finally the Ukraine war, right? So there were factors that all came together, not necessarily only the Russian-Ukraine.
No,
maybe
but
very briefly on that.
With respect to COVID, we were told, the finance minister himself, when he appeared before the August House, he told the good people of this country that the amount of revenue that was raking as a result of COVID was around 30 billion plus. The Auditor General came out and said the amount of money that was spent with respect to COVID was 11 billion. So, even people continue to talk about the fact that COVID in itself was a blessing because of the amount of money that we got as a result of COVID. So that particular argument, it fall flat because the revenue that was raking relative to COVID, which was 30 billion plus, and the amount of money that we spent relative to COVID. So when you do the juxtaposition, you deduct the amount of money that we got, the expenses. It cannot be a justification that COVID is what actually put the country in that mess. And already there was, the indicators have shown that even prior to the onset of COVID, the country was already on the verge of collapse, right? And one thing that is more important is this. What the NDC did at that time was basically play back the soundbite of Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, when he was then the vice presidential candidate of the NPP, when he organized a series of lectures, economic lectures, some at Central University, when he said he doesn't understand the reason why. The excuses that the NDC was giving at that time relative to some of the global shock that we encountered, he said it was not tenable because he doesn't understand the reason why Ivory Coast, who is our neighbor, right, are not suffering from the same, what do you call it, global meltdown. But Ghana is suffering from it. And for that matter, that analogy is not tenable. So basically, we just play back his own words. That you cannot approbate and reprobate. You cannot tell us that something that happened during the NDC era, that he said that it didn't affect Cote d'Ivoire, but it affected Ghana. And for that matter, that argument is flawed. That was the same thing we did.
We'll come back to interrogate some of the issues you've raised. But Ibrahim, thank you so much for joining us. Maybe before you respond to some of the things Delali said, very briefly, your thoughts on this, right? Because we've seen the US embark on the weapons of mass destruction war. Then it later turned out that there was nothing really there. I was quite young, but I remember Colin Powell and the likes justifying why the Bush administration should go into Iraq. Of course, we saw the Afghan war. After 20 years, they still handed power back to the Taliban, right? So what's your assessment of what's happening before we even trickle down to how this affects us as a country?
Thank you, Jude. Good morning once again to you and our viewers. In terms of what's happening, in terms of the Israeli, Iran, US war, it's nothing new historically. It is a playbook of America ever since the Ayatollah Khomeini back in 1975 through the Islamic Revolution took power. There was a popular uprising. So you've got to understand or ask, why did the Ayatollah Khomeini from France in 1979 had this groundswell of support to come and take over from the Shah of Iran? Because the people recognized that the Shah, to all intents and purposes, Jude, was a puppet of the West. And to his credit, there's YouTube videos showing how the Shah was vehemently against how America then and Israel was in fact being the puppeteers of its economy and controlling it, even before he was actually ousted by the Iranian Revolution or the uprising in 1979. Why is it happening? America has an agenda to make sure that it remains preeminent globally. It doesn't want a shock to the system whereby anything that will now, if I can say, diffuse the potency of the American dollar, the greenback, is something that it has an agenda to make sure that it eliminates. You've seen it with the BRICS countries, when they were looking to actually make sure that the BRICS currency replaces the dollar in terms of as a petrodollar. And President Trump directly said any country that is seeking to actually join the BRICS or be part of the new currency that Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and 20 other countries, affiliates and full members of BRICS now, would face sanctions from America because it sees it as an existential threat. Whoever controls the currency, the world currency, controls the world. There was a point in time when the pound sterling was the reserve currency, and then the US dollar took over. So why is it happening? It's nothing new. It's a case of America, as Benjamin Disraeli said, you know, we have permanent interests, not permanent friends.
Interesting. Let's come to how this affects us as a people. Delali has spoken a lot about how your government overblew the effects of some of these global shocks to our economy. Would you give the NDC government some credit? Because you can say to an extent they had their own kind of shock when the US aid withdrew funding, and they were taking care of some critical components of our economy. In fact, there were several health programs they were taking care of. There were several HIV programs, even like schools, right? You know, feeding in some rural areas and all of that. But despite the withdrawal of such funds, you know, I remember the president saying that a committee had set up by the finance minister, health minister to look into they seem to have stabilized the issues, right? So would you say the NDC government is well in place to address these shocks as we experience?
Well, let me start by answering the question as directly as I can. you cannot compare the US aid, and I take it using it as an example. The value of US aid in 2024, 2025 was $211 million. We are an economy that is over $35 billion worth in terms of GDP. It's $200 million. Did we not just sell gold? 18, what do you call it?
The economy has crossed the 100 billion.
Billion now, thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Yes. So you just cannot compare the two in terms of the 200 million, the value of the US aid. And I understand your question. You're not just using that as an example,
Yeah, I mean,
but to contextualize.
It gives us an idea.
An idea. And you can't. Because what happened, we are more globally connected in terms of our peers within West Africa, within the global trade system, than let's say Togo and indeed Benin and Burkina Faso is. When the Ukraine war started with Russia in 2022, price for flour, wheat, shot up by 86%. You know, and 26% of our wheat comes from Russia through Ukraine. And Ukraine is the largest exporter of grains. And so I'm just using one example, one base commodity for us to explore the total impact of what happened. Now, it was for a prolonged period. For me, I'm happy that US aid was cancelled, because what you get for it, in terms of the benefits of the US having its tentacles through this, let's say, facade of US aid, isn't worth the paper it's written on. So I'm, for one, very happy that President Trump took that decision to cancel US aid across the areas of the globe where that policy was working. So on the NDC side, they don't have any, I think, strong anchors to stand upon. Because what happened during the Russia-Ukraine war was holistic in terms of its global impact. You know, I just use wheat as one example. See what happened to Egypt's economy. Egypt are a major importer of wheat for the flour. I mean, I can't quite put, let's say wheat is to Egypt what cocoa is to Ghana. But they are a major net importer. And they just made sure that the Egyptian currency went into free fall at a certain point because of the Ukraine-Russia war. And then you have all the other things related to it. You have supply chain shocks across board, whether it's petroleum products that are coming in, the wheat that I mentioned, and the domino effect of how our trading partners globally, once they were affected by the Russia-Ukraine war, then affects us. The European Union, for a time, though now they've managed to somehow wean themselves off Russian gas and Russian oil. What happened when they started to wean themselves off? Up until that, European prices, I'm talking inflation, started to creep up. Who is one of our major trading blocs? Is it not the European Union? So when Ghana or Ghanaian importers are purchasing from the EU, given that they've also increased their prices, because inflation has increased, because they're not having, Russia then increased its supply, pricing of fuel and gas to the European bloc. It then has a domino effect whereby we purchasing other trading commodities or services from the European blocs affects us. So you saw inflation creeping up substantially. It's not an argument that the NDC can use to say, well, we've managed to not blame the US aid for these reasons. And so they are pitching their camp in being sufficient. But what is the main thing that is holding this economy up? Is it not the gold for oil and gold for reserves? And I don't think anybody, and to their credit, the NDC have come out and said that this legacy that Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the whisker that Delali was trying to impugn, it was his idea. Ask anybody, and I think sometimes in politics, when you give credit to where it belongs, you actually help Ghana, in terms of our political discourse, increase.
But Delali also raises the point about how your government mobilized about 21 billion Ghana cedis in terms of COVID funds, and just about 11 billion was used for budget support. And of course, we've also seen the Auditor General's report on COVID, where there were quite a number of discrepancies in terms of funds used, funds misappropriated, and stuff like that. So, do you admit that your government should take some responsibility for its own management of some of these shocks as it happened?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that any administration, you cannot control every nuance in the, let's say, not only the supply chain, but the delivery chain of a policy. JIDA, 424 million Ghana cedis under them. We were here when the, what do you call it, Akomfem flew away. Was the policy good? The answer is yes. The afforestation. 400 million Ghana cedis flew away under John Dramani Mahama.
To be fair, there's no credible news report saying that guinea fowls actually flew away.
I understand.
But,
I'm
the way you say flew away.
Good. I'm not being pedantic. I'm using the guinea fowl just to remind ourselves of the volume of money that went missing, misappropriated under them. Is that a fault of the policy itself? No, it's in the individuals. So I answered your question directly, as we should. Were there lapses in terms of administering the COVID, the dispersal of, or the disbursement of those funds? Clearly, yes. I don't think we can sit and somehow defend certain lapses
And
within the value chain.
Yeah.
But you have to look at it holistically. What did we do? Did the policy actually save lives? Admitted, without argument, yes. Because within the region, you can see how COVID-related deaths in Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, they're the figures that I have, were far more higher than in Ghana. Because the government took the stance that, we know how to rebuild the economy, but we don't know, I'm talking President Akufo-Addo, how to rebuild lives or save, make them somehow create the conditions whereby you can resuscitate a human being.
Remember, the quote says he knows how to bring back economy to life, but he doesn't know how to bring back, a human who would have passed.
And that policy of President Akufo-Addo, when I say policy,
but did the economy actually ever resuscitate? And I think the answer is what a lot of Ghanaians decided on in the 2024 election. So I'll come back to you on that. To a large extent, you can say the president, before he left office, didn't really resuscitate the economy, because inflation hit 54% under his watch. At the point, many described it as hyperinflation. Of course, he was leaving government, was around 23%.
Thank you.
That's what I want. But that was still significantly high compared to what this administration has brought it to end of year 2024.
Yeah, but you cannot, I'll give me 1 minute. It's important that I address this before you go in for the next round, Jude. You cannot somehow dismiss inflation from 54% to 23%. I'm not saying that we're resuscitating. I mean, look at it.
But that is still high.
Of course it's high, but look at where it was. Given all the other interventions globally that impacted and led to the increase. I just gave you one product. Wheat, flour. You remember a time when butter bread was costing around 6, then 7 cedis for a loaf. Then it went all the way up to 18. And I've given you, I've joined the dots for you. Where do we get our wheat from? Do we grow wheat in Ghana? The answer is no. Where do we get it from? Ukraine. How much did it increase by? 88%.
Your point is well made.
And I'm landing. So from 54 to 23, where was the trajectory? Was it not going down? It's still high, but you cannot dismiss it.
The fact that there's been gains made.
Exactly so.
Thank you very much. Elvis, the war is raging on. There's no indication that it's going to stop anytime soon. Latest update is that Iran, keep hurling missiles at some U.S. bases in the region, right? So Bahrain have been affected, Saudi Arabia have been affected. I also understand that even the UAE, have all been affected by this. So clearly, there's some preparation from the Iranian side in terms of their commitment to this war. And we know Trump and Netanyahu too, they don't look like they're going to also back down anytime soon in respect of this. How should we, as a country, put in place the necessary buffers to safeguard ourselves from the shocks, even as the war rages on?
Okay. Let me read this from the Financial Times. Reported this morning. It's in the first trading session since the US and Israel launched air strikes against Iran on Saturday, Brent crude, the international benchmark, soared as much as 13% to $82.37 this morning. That's how oil is selling. European gas prices soared 24% at the start of trading this morning. Activities in the Strait of Hormuz, that is where all the vessels pass through with crude oil. Narrow waterway at the mouth of the Gulf, through which a fifth of the world's oil and gas flows, has slowed to near standstill following the strikes. So you can see the disruptions in the supply chain. Qatar, in the United Arab Emirates, produce roughly a fifth of global liquid natural gas and typically exports to Asia and Europe through the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran's retaliatory strikes on its Gulf neighbors also threaten regional infrastructure critical to global energy. Brent crude gave up some of its earlier gains to trade up at 8% in London. Gold prices rose 1.6% to 5,362 a troy ounce as investors sought safe haven assets. The dollar rose 0.6% against a basket of its key trading currencies. I'm reading this to tell you the impact that what is happening in Iran is having on crude oil prices,
and it's
gas
globally.
prices, gold prices, even the strength of the dollar. So if we are in Ghana and we are hoping that the dollar and the cedi will be the way we think it should be, or we are happy with it, we are being told that the dollar is now strengthening. How is the cedi going to match it? If the dollar begins to strengthen by 10% or 15%, can we match it? That's the issue. If you look at the crude oil, crude oil was around 60 something until this war. Now it's $82 this morning.
Data Bank also says that the cedi will depreciate by 7% this year.
$82 this morning. Okay. So when you are asking for buffers, that is why the IMF and the World Bank were warning us that the rate at which we are pumping dollars to support the cedi can be dangerous. Because at the time we are pumping dollars to support the cedi, there's no global effect. They were telling us times like this will come. So rather than supporting the cedi with huge amount, do small amount. Keep the money in your reserve. So if you are hit by this and your commodity prices begin to decline, you have something in your reserve to be able to manage your economy. So when the IMF and the World Bank are issuing some warning, sometimes we are quick to dismiss them and say, oh, they rather want our economy to collapse. They have been in place for so many years and they know that unexpected events will continue to happen. And nobody can control it.
But there are those who say that the Bretton Woods institutions are also designed to systematically keep us dependent on them.
They don't force us to go to them. We run to them. Have you ever seen IMF say, compulsorily come and join the IMF? Or World Bank say, come to us by force? We go to them at our own free will. So that argument is even moot. If you manage the economy well and things are doing, will you go to them? Can't you not manage the economy well? Don't go to the IMF. So IMF and the World Bank do not force anybody to come to them. It is us who we realize that now we are really in shit. Then we say, come and help us. And then when they come to help us, then we are complaining. Complaining about what? Did they force you? Did they put a gun at your head? So you see, what we are talking about...
But there's also the argument of how over time, systematically, they're indirectly, right? We all know about how some of these things work.
I ask you a question. Do they put a gun at our head to join the IMF or the World Bank?
They don't have to put a gun to your head.
So if you do your things well, if you do your things well, and you don't need help, will you be asking somebody for help? So you see, the world then, people are shouting about Trump striking Iran. Look, every superpower in the world, every empire that has ruled in the world has done so through conquest. You can build no matter what economy. If you can't conquer countries, you are not a superpower. America wants to maintain its superpower position and will do anything to remain there. What America has done in Iran now they have conquered the world. Why? America has taken over Venezuela. And now they are going to control Iran. If you put these two countries together, they produce more than 60% of the entire oil in the world. Iran and Venezuela, their oil production is huge. So if America now is in control, they can now take the price and say, okay, American economy needs a lot of crude oil to be able to function. So we want crude oil to sell at $20 a barrel. They can do it. Until then, they are unable to do it because of OPEC. And Venezuela and Iran are powerful members of OPEC. So then they can decide to raise price of crude oil anytime they want. Now that America is in control, they will be able to say, because we think American economy needs a lot of crude oil to power production, we want to sell oil at $50 a barrel. America can do it. So these are some of the benefits that if after all these things settle, and America now is in full control, may come to us. But I also foresee America also making sure that the price of gold drops significantly because they want to use it to fill their reserves. So now that Venezuela produces huge gold and they want to avoid the idea of you are stealing the gold, they are likely to beat it down and then siphon everything at a low price to their country. So you see, as a country like Ghana, you are saying that what can we do?
Yeah.
What can we do is that we have to manage our economy very well.
Okay.
We should manage whatever that we have in a way and manner that at least the basic supplies in the country we can have. If we are talking about commodity prices and the crash today, well, our economy is finished. Today, as we speak, in the event that gold prices crashes today, the cedi can go into 50 cedis per day because all the things we are relying on now is largely about buying gold, selling it in the raw form so that some foreign exchange will come in. If the price crashes, in the era where cocoa prices are also crashing, and then gold crashes, if America takes over and decides to crash the price of crude oil as well so that it benefits them, where is the revenue going to come from? Because internally, our revenue generation cannot even pay for more than 4 items. We have always said that if you pay statutory funds, if you pay salaries, if you pay interest on our loans, the money we have collected in this country, over 60% is finished.
Is it time to change the structural nature of our economy?
We have always said that
so
we say it by mouth, but we do nothing about it practically. The point, we have all said that the rigidities of the economy need to be changed. We have to make sure that we are producing more chicken that we can eat instead of import. We produce more rice that we can instead of import. We produce but we are not doing it. We only talk by mouth. And see, why you talk about the impact of certain events on our Ghanaian economy, you have to look at it from a scale of things. Look, you say inflation went to 54% and now it's 3%. Are you telling me that if the NPP government had not done debt restructuring, inflation can drop to where it is today? It can never. Because the servicing of our debt that we are supposed to service, that we have been forgiving over $4.7 billion. If we are to be raising money without the DEP and be servicing that debt, we will not have money to do anything.
That be even possible.
You understand? You talk about US aid, all the places they are helping. Have you checked whether we have money to finance those things, or because they are stopped, the projects are all just stalled? You see, economic management, I always say there's always a trade-off to every policy in economic management. So if you think you are doing well here, you have to look at the other side. One of the trade-off of a strong cedi we are talking about is that nobody will set up a manufacturing company in Ghana today. Because if you set up any manufacturing company in Ghana today, your product will be so expensive. Your export will be so expensive that you can't sell. So a strong currency is good at a point, but what it will make you look like is that you cannot. That is why today, rice growers, the paddy rice has remained in the people who their warehouses. Why? Because the person who is supposed to go and buy the paddy rice, mill it and sell it to the local market, has looked at the rice of imported rice and realized that the lower end grade of imported rice, like the cedis, they are now selling around 300 cedis per 25 kg. Meanwhile, if you mill a local rice, 25 kg should be around 500 cedis. Who will go and buy 500 cedis for a local rice if you can buy an imported rice for 300 cedis? So you see, the dollar coming down is killing the rice market, it's killing the poultry farmers, it's killing everything that is done in this industry. So when you hear poultry farmers say, oh, they have so much chicken, people are not buying. Why will I buy if the imported chicken is about 30 or 40% cheaper than what is produced in Ghana?
So government should be candid to Ghanaians so we tighten our belt for the effects of the war. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, because right now if you ask yourself, okay, the President Mahama said we want to increase manufacturing's contribution to GDP from 10% to 15%. How is it that your economy, manufacturing to GDP is 10%, you are thinking about any transformation? There cannot be any transformation if manufacturing in your country's contribution to GDP is 10%. There cannot be any transformation. So the point is that all the stability we are talking about is just because of the exchange rate management. There's no record to prove that chicken production has increased. There's no record to show that rice production has increased. There's no record to show any production of anything this has increased significantly to support the currency. But a currency stability should be based on manufacturing and productivity. So if we can establish that there is increase in productivity in certain sectors, then we can say, oh, that is what is backing the currency. But currently there's none. So we are only using getting forex, bring in, pump in to support it. That's what I'm saying, that when this thing, let's pray that this never happen. I always tell my friends that at this moment, for gold prices, and oil prices, cocoa prices, we should just pray that God should keep them at a certain level. Because they crash beyond a certain level. That's the only thing we can do, because right now, we are not doing the production that will support the economy. So the only thing you can do is to pray.
It's not efficient economic management. But that one is smart.
But the efficient part,
but the prayer is more.
No, but the efficient part, we have failed to do it.
And so this government is inclusive.
You have two options. Everybody is inclusive. Why is there any record that we have any increase in productivity?
The truth is that
if you have two options and you can't do one, you fall on the other one. So right now, the real work we failed. We can't do it. So we have to fall on prayer. Because minus prayer, the figure shows that we are really not doing well in any of these sectors that will back the growth that we want.
Delali, I want you to respond to two issues very briefly for us, then we move to our second topic, right? Ibrahim says that you are the last to talk about, anything management, right? Because there's JIDA to show for it. He says there's a confirm in quotes to show for it. Elvis also raises issues around the fact that despite a year being in office, there's nothing substantial to point to in terms of improving the economy from our GDP, right? In terms of what we produce locally here. So maybe very brief thoughts on it before we move on.
First of all, the issue about JIDA, I confirm that, I believe you put him on the spot. The originator of that particular news item, Manasseh, came out in the bank that at no point in time he made reference to a confirm. He spoke within a context.
But I clarified that.
That's why I'm saying that it was good that you clarified that, because it was part of the lie the MPP continued to spew. The reason why I find it, sometimes I don't want to dignify it with the response was the fact that it was the same campaign message that they waged prior to the 2024 election, and Ghanaians responded to it in the polls that, in fact, in spite of the fact that you keep on churning out this and what have you, we don't believe in it, it lack credibility. What we are much concerned was the economy. And for me, I always say that the difference between President Mahama and President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is the fact that anytime President Mahama is the leader of this country, and you point to the obvious, any resemblance of corruption, he doesn't sit down and say, I'm going to clear my opponent. He doesn't write a love letter like he did to Sisi Adapa relative to...
But we saw your government tell us that two officials, right, Bande...
So I'm coming to that.
Let me say my point. You saw the Attorney General write to Bande and write to Yamin, right, on corruption, Galamsey allegations. We've not heard anything from them.
No, but you see, that's what I told you. It's consistent with the position that I took. That in the NPP, what you hear is clearing them. In the NDC, what you hear is a decision has been taken. The president has, for instance, the national security, the UOCO have commenced investigation to that effect. Myself and you, we are waiting for the outcome of that particular investigation.
How long should it take?
No, you see, there's a saying, there's the maxim in law. It will tell you that, let's say, there's better, right? It's awful to have one innocent person convicted. Do you understand? Somebody who is innocent convicted, than you have 1,000 people who are guilty convicted.
Yeah.
So in this particular context, you're talking about something that has a criminal liability. In the context of that is what it must be beyond every reasonable doubt. So investigation has been conducted. And I'm telling you that what President Mama have done in the past relative to
I mentioned Bande, I beg your pardon. So it's Yamin and Abanga.
I mean, see, for instance, these are national executives of our party, vice chairman, national organizer. Even for the president and the attorney general to refer them to Yoko, for them to be a subject of an investigation, it tells you how committed the president is. I mean, in the past, this is a president when somebody have made even an intent, right, that I intend to have $1 million and for that matter, I'll quit politics. The president deemed it expedient to show that person the exit. So I always tell people that, you see, it's not about that the fact that, oh, this particular administration will be immune from corruption. You are dealing with different kinds of people coming from different diverse backgrounds. And for that matter, their inclination to engage in a certain corrupt activities, you cannot dispute that. But what is more important is the leadership showing that resilience and that boldness to deal with people who are corrupt and stuff like that.
I don't even. There's so much pushbacks to some of these things that you're saying to us, right? Because a whole member of parliament from your administration or from your party was indicted. In we saw very unfortunate scenes, fighting, assaulting police officers in relation to Galamsey. Months on, we've not really heard much on the case. I could go on and on about some party officials who've misconducted themselves. It's widely reported in the news, and there's little action. So fair, you can say, well, government has issued a statement indicting them, but it ends there. We don't even Sedinam, the former Maslok CEO, who was jailed by the previous administration. We've not seen that same energy with which you talk about all the other ills of the MPP, but when it comes to your party people, it's like, well, we've done an action, but it ends there.
No, but with respect to the MP you made reference to, the MP was invited by the CID.
There's even a DC.
The MP was invited by the CID in respect to the MP that you made reference to. He has written his statement. I mean, investigations are currently ongoing. Unless you are telling me that, I mean, in terms of criminal prosecution, I mean, it should be speed up in such a way that, I mean, within a space of a light. What I'm just saying is this: actions have been taken.
Okay.
What is more important is the ultimate is what will determine whether indeed the president is committed in fighting and dealing with this or not. And the president has shown in the past where a sitting MP during his administration was a subject of a prosecution and eventually got convicted. That is the difference between President John Dramani Mahama and the erstwhile MPP administration. That is what I want to put. But you see, relative to the fact that nothing has been done, relative to the economy, what we are seeing, you see, the evidence are bound to show. Like President Mahama, like you said, we'll come to that, deliver a State of the Nation address, point to the obvious, certain specifics relative to the gains that we have made as far as the economy is concerned. This is not just happening in a vacuum. Certain pragmatic measures were put in place that bear fruit to what we are currently witnessing. Because you see, for Ghana, in the past, you have Moody, right? You have Fitch, you have Standard & Poor's.
SMP, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, they basically describe the Ghanaian economy as junk, waste, baller. Today, what are we witnessing? So whatever we are witnessing today, it didn't just happen. It didn't just happen out of the blue. Certain policies have been put in place. Certain pragmatic measures has been put in place to give birth to currently what we are witnessing. So it cannot be the case that nothing has been happening, and for that matter, it just come out of the blue. It was so easy for something like that to happen. Probably our predecessor would have done the same thing.
What has government done to make sure that we withstand these global shocks? There's Iran, there's the US-Israel attack on Iran. Fears are that the economy will worsen as a result of it.
I think, for instance, let me give you a classical example. One, when you look at even gold board, right? In 2019 to 2021, in terms of the Eurobond that we contracted, that was 11 billion. The interest alone was $4.7 billion. So you contracted Eurobond of $11 billion. And the amount of interest you have to pay on this was $4.7 billion. Gold Board has raked in, right, $10 billion. $10 billion. In terms of its operational cost, relative to that, was 240 million. So when you look at this strategy, it's like, so you have MPP talking about it, and the essence of contracting the Eurobond was basically to shore up our foreign reserves. So if we had gone ahead to go to the Eurobond to contract 10 billion, we probably will be paying almost about $800 million. So these are some of the prudent measures that the government has put in place relative to the gold bond. And that is the reason why, when we speak, I mean, relative to how the Ghanaian cedi have appreciated 40.7% against the US dollars, appreciated 30% against the British pounds, appreciated 24% against the euro. So you see, the gold was there. But you see, it takes somebody with certain prudent economic acumen to be able to put all these measures in place. That is why we are seeing all this again that we are currently witnessing.
Ibrahim,
A loan, please, a loan and a trading loss cannot be the same thing. You go and take somebody's money and pay interest on it, and you take your own resource to go and sell and make losses. Cannot be the same. So if you are comparing the two, it's like comparing apples to oranges. Let's not be doing this kind of things to be confusing anybody. You go for somebody's money, you have to pay interest. You take your own resources to go and sell, you make losses, and you are comparing the two. But it's incomparable.
No, not comparable.
Let's not do
what
it.
I would have incurred this.
Let's not do it.
The point is well made, and thank you for that. Ibrahim, you want to just respond to him very briefly, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
On the Eurobond, I mean, Delali should go back to history. It's very simple. When we took over in 2017, and let me give you the scenario here, not the scenario, the reality. We inherited a mess. Every Ghanaian will tell you that they voted John Dramani Mahama out because the economy was in a total mess. In 2018, we raised a Eurobond, 2 billion, with rates as low as 7.625% over 10 years, and then 8.62% over 30 years. Likewise, in 2019, a Eurobond, we made history, Jude. We made history with a 31-year bond at 8.95%. That's the longest ever tenure for an African sovereign at the time. It's not for me to bore you with the details, because the reality is, what did our interventions post the calamity and the junk status that they bequeathed to us, what did you see in the economy? From 2017 up until 2020, the highest growth, manufacturing, industry, apart from services, that's what you saw, because you can tout the figures. Oh, yours is baller status. If it's baller status, why is it that in your good status, you are giving cocoa farmers a haircut? Why is it? I'm coming.
Post 2020, you
I'm
also gave a
coming.
haircut.
Sure, but I'm giving you. I like to at least frame my response within the reality, because you can sit here and somehow do the partisan thing. I have no problems with that. But Ghanaians are discerning. ChannelOne viewers know exactly what is happening. You know, so if you sit and try and make out it takes somebody with the vision. What vision that John Dramani Mahama have that took us way back, I'm talking 2017, into the economic disaster that we found ourselves in, where you had inflation, where you had unemployment skyrocketing, where there was actually no manufacturing. Today we're sitting here and you're talking about your vision. And the reality on Ghanaians is this. You are having 3.8% inflation rate. But that just tells you that inflation is going slower.
We'll come to the economy.
I understand.
We'll come to the economy when we come back from this break. So I like the way you're going with this point you're making. When we come back, we'll delve on the economy. The president said so many things with regards to the state of the nation and how his government has worked to improve, you know, the general outcome. So we'll be delving into that pretty shortly. But we'll take a quick break. You are watching Breakfast Daily right here on ChannelOne TV. We began with the big breaking news story globally, everywhere, right? US, Israel attack Iran, its implications on the Ghanaian economy. My guest, Ibrahim Delali Elvis, helping me with some really insightful, discussions on the matter. I'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Don't go away. Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily. My name is Jude Duncan, sitting in for your regular host, Nana Tufo Boateng. We are going through the big news story. Started off with the US Israel attacks on Iran. Now we delve into the State of the Nation address which took place on Friday. The minority say today they will issue their version of the real State of the Nation. They they raised concerns around electricity tariffs, where they say 100% increment has left a lot of Ghanaians impoverished. They talked about cocoa. In fact, they sent cocoa to Parliament to protest, the cut in producer pricing for farmers, right? So we'll be delving into those issues shortly. The Daily Graphic captures it best. The big front page story said that cocoa farmers reform will secure fair prices, and that's coming in from the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Brief excerpts of the story by Samuel Do Ablodepe reads, President John Dramani Mahama has assured cocoa farmers that the measures instituted to reform the cocoa sector will bring total transformation and guarantee fair prices going forward. He said the prices would be fair enough to enable farmers cover their cost of producing the commodity and also make decent margins. Delivering a message to Parliament last Friday on the state of the nation, President Mahama referenced the cabinet decision, saying, we have had to take a painful but necessary decision to revise the producer price of cocoa to achieve competitive pricing and resolve acute liquidity challenges in the sector. Elvis, acute liquidity challenges, is that what we are experiencing in terms of the challenges around the cocoa sector? Because it's been said often that the main issues affecting cocoa, we know it, right? So there was galamsey, where a significant number of farmers were selling off their farms to galamseyers. We also know of the swollen shoot disease, amidst other challenges. So is it fair to say or describe the challenges within the sector as just acute liquidity challenges?
Well, I think what you've read will be a deceit to the cocoa farmer if that's what the president has been told. Because if you are adopting export sales, you can never guarantee the farmer any fair pricing. That will ensure that their cost of production is recovered. Because if I spend 1,000 to produce a bag of cocoa and the world market is selling as 500 cedis, what measures is there to make sure that I get my 1,000 cedis back if you are using spot sales to give me 70% of the price? So maybe the president doesn't understand what the people who are telling him are saying. The president should slow down, because it's the same people who went and told him that cocoa price is going to go up, boom. And he went and told cocoa farmers. And then when the increase came, it was 100 cedis they added to the price. The president should take a cue from that the people who are advising him on cocoa are not giving him right information. Because I don't know how they told him that he should go and tell cocoa farmers that cocoa prices are going to go up big. So if you don't have
the CEO of Cocoa Board,
I don't know who gave them. I'm saying those who are giving the information. I don't know.
Because we first heard it from the CEO of
I don't know who told him. I'm saying those who are giving him information, you should be careful of them. Because the very people who told him that cocoa price is going to go up big, so he should go and tell cocoa farmers. And that those who don't have cocoa farms should begin to look for land and farm cocoa.
But Elvis, you also know that these are
the very people
these are market forecasts.
That's what I'm saying. That what you have read there, if that's what he's promising, then it will constitute deceit to the cocoa farmer. Because what he said it cannot be guaranteed, cannot be achieved. That's why I give a simple example. That if the cocoa farmer spend 1,000 cedis, okay, to grow to make a bag of cocoa, and the world market is selling the bag of cocoa at 500 cedis. How is the president going to make sure that the people recover full cost if the bill is saying that the farmers will be given 70% of the cost? So I'm saying that the president should take his time. I want him to go back to the cocoa farmers and listen to them, not listen to these people who advise him. Because I think that the things they are just trying in a hurry to do something that they are trying to fix the challenges. Look, I watched a video on social media. A former NDC DCE outlined all the reforms that the NPP government has put in the cocoa sector. And he said that since NDC came to power, all those reforms have been stalled. Nothing is happening. And he said that what is happening in cocoa growing communities now under NDC, if they don't do anything about what NPP was doing, they are going to lose the election. I'm not saying it's a former DCE, and the video is on Facebook.
You feel cocoa issues are strong enough to determine election outcomes?
Do you know how many people there is statistics?
1 million, estimatedly.
That is those who are directly into it. Add 3 dependents to each of them is 3 million. If 3 million people are going to vote against you, can you win an election in Ghana? So you see, I'm saying that reforms are good, but the reforms should not be politicians and government officials reforms. People who are interested in issuing contracts and securing contracts to make money, they cannot give you any better reforms. He should go to the... I'm saying something serious. That's why I started an example of the former NDC, DC, who said that what NPP was doing, and he said his own farm is a beneficiary of the NPP initiative, and said 4 years down there, if he sees his cocoa farm, he is very happy. Okay, and he says that everything that the NPP government was doing. I didn't say this. I'm just saying that the president, anybody show it to the president to know that if he goes down to talk to the people, he will have a better solution that will bring what the farmers want. But if you sit down for the people who are beneficiaries, appointees, and the rest to determine what the reform should be, they will do a reform, but it will not meet the expectation of the farmer. And at the end of the day, the expected results will rather come and work against them. Because the cocoa is big. It's the single back. See, why we say the backbone of an economy. Why we say a certain sector is a backbone of the economy. If you are dealing with it, be very careful. Why do we say it's a backbone of the economy? If you sell all the cocoa abroad, every single dollar comes back to Ghana. Because the money is to go and pay the cocoa farmers, and the cocoa board pocket the rest and use it the way they want. But if you sell gold abroad, Ghana's share of the gold is about 20%. The rest of the money will go and pay owners of the company in dividends and the rest. If you sell crude oil abroad, only 20% it belongs to Ghana. The rest will go and pay dividends to the owners, and the rest will be invested in operations. So the money that
cocoa is our mainstay.
So the one that really is the backbone of the economy is that cocoa comes in and pays all the money to the farmers, and cocoa board use the rest. So the cocoa money 100% returns in this to this country in foreign currency.
I interviewed Dominic Nito, a former defense minister, and he said to me that government ought to have gone to look for money elsewhere to tackle the cocoa issues in terms of paying farmers.
That is exactly what I said. The government should absorb this money because they are talking about Cote d'Ivoire.
But we see Reuters also reports.
No, stop giving. I've read whatever Reuters are. Reuters, see, Cote d'Ivoire government said this. The main cocoa season, the harvest, they give the farmers time. They say the buyers have refused to buy according to the farm gate price, which has led to the slump. So what the government did is to release $508 million and says everybody who has cocoa under the previous price, bring it, government is buying it. So government has given them a time for them to sell whatever they have in stock. Then you enter the minor season, first March, that is today. You are entering what you call the minor season of cocoa. Do you know the minor season of cocoa? The harvest is small. 2, the beans are smaller. So even that one we don't export. We share it to the local processors to do cocoa, because if you want to sell it now, they will not even buy. Because before they buy the cocoa in the time, they have the size of beans they buy.
They look at.
The beans you get during this season, because the rainfall pattern is erratic, the minor season cocoa beans are smaller. So those ones you sell it locally, don't even sell it internationally. So that is the one that Ivory Coast has reduced the price. So they actually gave the farmers a buffer of over $500 million to buy those who have main season cocoa over there. Ghana didn't do that. Ghana just came and said, we have reduced the price. So you cannot compare. And I've always said it, Ghana's cocoa is premium. So we make more money from our cocoa than Ivory Coast.
Thank you.
So why is the farmer in Ghana not making more than Ivory Coast most of the time?
Thank you.
We even have a living income differential that every ton of cocoa, buyers should add $400 for the cocoa farmer. So if you look at the things, if we are comparing ourselves to Ivory Coast, the approach they took is not the same approach. Did government or governor say that all those who have cocoa for the major season, bring it, government is buying it, and then after that, give a deadline that beyond this deadline, if you don't sell your cocoa to us, then the price will be reduced. Is that what we did? No. So let's stop this confusion by doing this comparison. It is not the same.
The critics also say the optics do not really support government's course on the cocoa, right? Because, for example, why are we in such a situation but we have officials procuring brand new vehicles? Is it the best they could have done under the circumstances? You know, put all of the issues together with some of the issues Elvis have raised and address it for us.
You see, I was the last week or so I was here. I spoke about this cocoa thing. One of the things I mean, when Elvis was talking about was the fact that the president himself should go down there. I want to tell him one thing. I have had an opportunity to sit before the president and listen to President John Dramani Mahama. And I can confidently say, I doubt whether there is ever a president under the Fourth Republic who is so much abreast with every sector of the economy than President John Dramani Mahama.
He knows the cocoa issues.
I'm telling you, see.
Has he had the opportunity to speak directly and engage with farmers?
Would you know? I mean, President Mahama recently even admitted that he himself has cocoa farm. Do you understand?
But it's
No. What I'm saying is this.
Yeah.
No, you see, sometimes even speaking to a farmer, you don't even appreciate it than you yourself
being a part of it.
being part of it. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm saying that President Mama is not oblivious related to what is happening as far as the cocoa sector is concerned. And I keep on saying, whatever the challenges is, I have every strong belief and confidence in President Mama that he'll fix it. Because he's a problem fixer. He's not somebody who will deal with the symptoms of a problem. But you see, what is more important is issues that has been raised. Like you talk about the optics relative to the fact that they are operational and what do you call it, vehicles that have been procured in respect to ensure the effective running of cocoa board and activities and what have you done. Cocoa board is an integral part of our cocoa industry. It's an authority that oversees to an effective industry called the cocoa sector. And the operational activities is very important. As to raising the questions about the timing of the procurement and whatever, it's also something that is worth analyzing or probably talking about it. But for me, what is more critical in respect to all this is about how we'll find a lasting solution in dealing with this problem. First of all, the first argument that came up was sub-reference to Côte d'Ivoire. Now, all of a sudden, we are being told that I listened to the minority leader on Joy News, that is this very Saturday. And all of us say, no, I'm not interested to talk about Côte d'Ivoire. What has happened? What is all of a sudden, the people that held the press conference made reference to Côte d'Ivoire relative to how much they are paying their cocoa farmers. All of a sudden, they say we didn't talk about Côte d'Ivoire. Because of the issue that you make reference to, the realtor and what they call story. Because these are the same people. Ivory Coast is paying more than Ghana.
But does it matter what Ivory Coast is paying their farmers? Because we heard the campaign promises loud and clear.
I'm coming to that. Relax. I'm coming to that. You see, sometimes at the heart of leadership is integrity, honesty, and consistency. What was the position of the MPP? That listen, Ivory Coast is doing this and you're not doing that. And for that matter, how can you be paying your people this? And whilst Ivory Coast is paying more than this. Is that not what they said? So why have they shifted the goalpost? You see, because you made a statement that, okay, this is how much Ivory Coast is paying, in spite of the fact that the price at the world market is declining. And all of a sudden, there's a report that even Ivory Coast, when you compare Ivory Coast to Ghana, Ghana is paying better than Ivory Coast. And all of a sudden, you don't want us to compare Ghana to Ivory Coast. And I keep on saying, where is the credibility? And now let me come back to the statement that people have attributed to Honorable Atto-Forson. Context really matters. My SS teacher told me, he said, Delani, words are not as important as the context within which they are used.
Which school was this?
Words are not as important as the context within which they are used. But let me ask you a simple question. Honorable Atto-Forson made a statement to the effect that at the point when NPP was paying farmers paying farmers a certain amount of money, he said relative to the world price at that time, if it was NDC that was in power, we would have paid them 70% of the FOB. Is that not what he said? Is that not what Honorable Atto-Forson said? They said nothing indicts a man than his own words. The videos are there. One of your sister TV station or radios actually put it on their on their Facebook page to validate the position of Honorable. Has it changed? As we speak, the amount of money that the government is paying cocoa farmers, FOB, what percentage is this? Is it not 90%? So you see, when we create an impression, Honorable Atto-Forson said this, as if he made that statement out of a contest. He made it within a particular contest. And Honorable Atto-Forson is saying that if indeed the $11,000 at that time, that he made a statement to the effect that the government would have paid them 70% of the FOB price, he's saying that if indeed that was the same, we would have done the same thing. Has the NDC government, reduced the percentage in respect to the FOB price? Are we not even paying them 90%? So you see, we know the MPP that, listen, they are so much in a hurry to have something to launch on, to create a certain, news, to make this government unpopular. But you see, just like I said on one of your sister station, I said something like, listen, when NDC assumed power, one of the challenges that confronted was the energy crisis. And they told the good people of this country, President Mama is back, doom so is back. President Mama address the nation. You see, one of the things I like about President Mama is he's not somebody who shifts blames. He's not somebody who apportions blame. He said, listen, the reason why the NDC campaign 2024 election was the fact that we think that the country has been run aground, and for that matter, we intend to reset it. Resetting a country doesn't mean that you have to shift blame on your predecessor. We are not interested in that. But what we will do is to let the good people of this country know that the NPP that are now sitting on the high horses, trying to pontificate, right? These are how they left the cocoa sector. This is what we have to tell the good people of this country. So what is happening now is this. President John Dramani Mahama will fix this challenge that is confronting the cocoa, like the way he fixed the energy crisis that confronted the NDC when we took over power. We are not going to throw our hands in despair and create an impression that, oh, because of what is happening, we are not interested in fixing whatever the challenges are. That is why he made a bold, what they call statement to the effect that it has come to a point in time as a country, we must be able to absorb some of the cocoa beans in feeding our cocoa industry. So the only way we'll be able to deal with these particular challenges is the fact that as a country, we should have factories, right, that consume the cocoa beans that we export. Even if 60% of the cocoa beans that we export, that is at the benevolent, at the mercy of the determinant of the world market. If it's being consumed by our factories here, and we export cocoa not on its raw state, but we add value to it, we'll be able to deal with some of the challenges that we are confronting. And that is what President Mahama have said.
Ibrahim, there are concerns that the government has shown enough good faith, right? We've seen senior officials at Cocoa Board agree to salary reductions. We've seen government also, you know, the willingness to engage cocoa farmers. Would you say, what do you have to say to critics who say your party is overplaying and overstretching this matter to score some pot?
Told you. We're fighting for that cocoa farmer, period. That is the beginning and the end of our discourse. Let me explain something, if I can. We're asking, how did we get here? So let me give Delali a short history lesson.
Are you ready for the lesson?
Yeah,
ready for the
And
lesson?
by short, I mean months, not years ago.
Okay.
July 15th, I said this last week, July 15th, 2025, Cocoa Board issued a fact sheet stating that even though the market price was $3,100, okay, Cocoa Board were adding 1,673 cedis, 82 cents in stabilization support for the cocoa farmer. Okay, the cedi equivalent would make it 4,769. July 15th of last year, Cocoa Board, Randy Abbey came to communicate this. Based on the fact that you're targeting 800,000 tons, millions of dollars per Cocoa Board's own statement. They vomited it, not me. Where is that money? Because the stabilization fund, Jude, the purpose of it is to support the farmer when times are tough. We did it in the 2017-2018 period. I mentioned that at length last time. And we were able to make sure that prices that were promised to the farmers was kept. You have not been able to do that. And one thing, most of we, the commentators, but I'm sure the cocoa farmer hasn't missed the point. Where did that money go to? You said the money was there. Where did that money go to? Millions of dollars that could be used to cushion the cocoa farmer. John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency the President, should have addressed this question. If not, at all force and do a press conference this afternoon and tell us where the money was.
But Delali, where is Eric Opoku in all of this?
I'm coming. Jude,
You should try and tell us.
You've cornered him, but let me continue on track. Jude, the NPP, you know, when he talks about percentages, Ghanaians don't look on percentages, they look on the value of the money that you're giving me. So let's look at the facts. Again, for Delali to quickly check as I'm talking. We gave, when the price was 7,200, 70% FOB to the farmer. Now, you come and reduce that by nearly 50% to $4,200, and you're given 90%. Did we come or did we go? No, sometimes, I was saying it earlier, Jude, as we are privileged to come on these platforms and speak to the issues at hand. When you corner yourself into a corner for the sake of partisanship, defending the indefensible, cocoa farmers and Ghanaians are watching us, and they will laugh at you. And come 2028, they won't say that it's difficult and necessary. They say it's easy and opportunist. to remove John Dramani and his government from office. He's saying it's difficult but necessary. Ghanaians in 2028 will say it is easy and in fact opportune to remove you from office because cocoa farmers are taking 1,038 cedis less. And remember, this is their earning for the whole year. You asked me whether or not the cocoa board, Randy Abbey, they've reduced what do you call it? Salaries.
5 million have been saved. That's significant.
Yes.
A month.
How is that significant?
Oh,
no. We must center the cocoa farmer in everything we're doing. His or her crop is one time, and you've removed 28% of that value. You are getting your salary every single month, Randy Abbey and Co. His is one shot. From that, he has to pay school fees. Because remember, JHS is not free. SHS is, thanks to NPP. Likewise, every other thing that you pay for, Jude, from your salary, likewise me, you can budget month to month. The cocoa farmer is a one-shot window, and you remove 30% of his salary. Imagine if I gave you your salary every single month, we're removing 30%, and you've budgeted it accordingly. So we are putting the cocoa farmer there. The former secretary of Cocoa Board said that Randy Abbey, when they were doing this audit of staffing, they have 10,000 staff, but in that period, they removed the experts who would have told Randy Abbey that this is the time to sell. We are sitting here saying that it's a problem for the cocoa farmer or MPP. The price went to $12,000 US. And you are Dufude and your incompetence failed to trigger you to sell at that price. Who should we blame? The cocoa farmer, NPP. The blame lies squarely with John Dramani Mahama and the NDC.
Let's wrap up.
So I'm wrapping up on this issue.
Let's wrap up.
This is.
I want us to just briefly touch on other sectors.
Then my last 5 seconds is this. The cocoa farmer will tell you that the person and party that has led to them suffering what they're doing right now is John Dramani Mahama, the man with the so-called vision, and the NDC party. Simplicity.
Delali, you have 30 seconds. Energy sector, so many issues, right? Citizens complained about the increase in tariffs, some in excess of 100%. Did we see a true reflection of the state of the nation that was delivered on Friday?
Absolutely. I mean, President Mama basically made reference to some indicators which are obvious for everybody to see. He made reference to inflation. I mean, remember we were told that because of the World Bank and the IMF said because of inflation, Ghanaians, almost 900 and something thousand Ghanaians were pushed below the poverty line. I mean, that was actually indicated as we speak. That was when you remember 2022 inflation was somewhere around 54%, unprecedented. It has never happened before. As we speak, we inherited inflation of 23.8%. As we speak, inflation is around 3.4%. You remember at a point in time when it comes to our debt to GDP, hovers up was almost around 102%. It has never happened before. But today, as we speak, our debt to GDP was somewhere around 46%. I mean, if we talk about what do you call it, the exchange rate. I mean, I keep on talking about the fact that I always want to make a simple analysis. If you take somebody from Abu Shokai, who probably in 2022 or maybe end of 2024, according to the MPP, some of their presidential and flag bearer hopeful, talk about the fact that they were buying it 17 Ghana cedis. I mean, when the MPP took power away from the NDC, it was 4 cedis, 72 pesos. So at that time, when we were buying $10,000, at that time it was 47,200 Ghana cedis. By the time the NPP left power, Abuso Kan's paper dealer would need an amount of 170,000 Ghana cedis to exchange 10,000.
So far, so good.
So as we speak, the exchange rate is 11 Ghana cedis. So even if you are going the same $10,000, you are going to buy $10,000 of a dollar, you spend 110,000.
Yeah, but for the average Ghanaian, their electricity bill has
no. So I'm coming with respect. With respect to the electricity. I think concerns have been raised. I've listened to the chairman of the PRC said he has made the what do you call it, the ECG. There's anomalies in respect to that, to the extent that they have to pay a refund to the customers out there. So it's a challenge that has been highlighted and it will be dealt with.
Ibrahim, you have 30 seconds. I'll end with Elvis on this. The minority who addressed the country today. What should we expect
from the minority? A real state of the nation address. Because, Jude, we may laugh at it.
You have 30 seconds.
Good. We may laugh at it, but Ghanaians are suffering. You want to sell us macro. Meanwhile, it's the micro that is affecting Ghanaians. Prices are continually to increase. Electricity, water, over 30% over the last year. And then likewise, the foods related to those, I'm talking your basket of goods as well. And if the NDC, and they will, continue to maintain this trajectory, cedi is down, exchange rate is doing well, you will see that come 2028, if not before, your own people, because the NDC are also complaining that nothing is going on except the poverty and the suffering that Ghanaians are suffering.
Elvis, a lot has been said, of course. Obviously, we couldn't delve into which of the sectors and what did the president say that caught your attention in the State of the Nation we witnessed on Friday.
I would say state of the nation is individual. The politicians can tell us anything about state of the nation. But the point, what is my state of the nation?
It's your pocket.
Is that what the politician tell him that's my state of the nation? It is my individual. You see, I've gone to the market. Iron rod, it dropped from 7,800 to 6,800 for a ton. I've seen cement that used to be 120 now selling at 110, and the one that is 90 selling at 80. That is the economy of those who are buying to build. How many people are able to build? But the one who is renting is experiencing about 20 to 30% increase in rent. Who is in the majority? It's those who are renting as against those who are building. So in the same country, what the person who can afford to build a house will see and benefit from the increase. When he finishes the house, he is hiring it for somebody at a 30 to 40% increase than the. So the majority who are renting are suffering. Over the weekend, I was in my district, Sub 9, and I ended up at the district capital, Pebe, and I wanted to eat kinky. The ball of kinky that is like my fist like this is 5 cedis. So I asked myself, where is all the maize we are told is in Glad? I bought kinky at Pebe just this Saturday. It's like this, it's 5 cedis. So me who is buying kinky,
I brought it so that we see.
Do you understand it? Me who is buying kinky, I don't feel that. Do you understand? So the state of the economy is not about what the politicians tell us.
It's about what we feel.
It's about how me as an individual I'm feeling. So if
thank you so much.
Everything in my life, including the electricity bills, okay, are going up. All government services. Parliament has passed a bill that has increased by 30 to 40% for all government services. Electricity is gone up by 80%. People are saying that 9.8. People say they are making 100 and 200%.
Thank you so much.
So the president can tell us everything.
But the pocket
it all the time. But for me as an individual, I look at what I go through on daily basis to determine my state of the economy. I'm not sure that majority of Ghanaians are feeling what the president has said.
Thank you so much, Elvis Darko. He's the editor of the News Center newspaper. You can catch his paper every day. Of course, Ibrahim was here as well. So was Delali Soroko. Grateful for your time this morning. It's now time for our on-air series where Frema talks to the head of the UG Music Department for a very exciting conversation on traditional music. Take care.